Hi, good day. My name is Eric. Thanks for joining me. On this channel, I simply intend to share what I've been reading in my Bible in the morning, as I've been doing the past 35 years. I've been encouraged by my family to also share this online. The purpose is to get you in a routine and to show you that you can read the Bible and learn from God on your own and not to become dependent on others to teach you. Okay, so since today is the first day, Sunday is the first day of the week, I always read from the New Testament, and today I'm going to start with the Gospel of John. The reason for doing that is because John is the primary witness. If this was a court of law, the judge would lean on John's testimony more than anyone else. He was one of the three disciples, the closest to Jesus. He was the beloved disciple, and he was the longest living. Let's go, and I'm going to just share what I've read this morning. In the beginning was the Word, and the beginning was with God, and the Word was God, and he was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him not anything was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. All right, let's think a bit. This is tremendously deep, but number one, John was not a Roman, he was not a Greek, he was a Hebrew. From this, Jews would immediately recognize the word in the beginning is Bereshit. It's the first words of Genesis 1. Okay, as I used to tell my sons, I know what the Big Bang sounded like, and they would be very surprised, and I would say, it was like, yay, or. And they would say, how do you know that? And I would explain, those are the two Hebrew words for light be. So what we know is that first was the word, and that the word separated light and darkness. Okay, then we go to verse 6. There was a man sent from God, whose name was Yochanan, John. He came as a witness to bear witness about the light, that all might believe through him. John was not the light, but came to bear witness about the light. The true light, which gives light to everybody, was coming into the world. In any case, and then he says that when Yeshua came to his people, the Jews, they did not recognize him, and not all received him with open arms, but those that believe. And then we read, but then we go to verse 12. But to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become the children of God, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh or the will of man, but of God. So what it says is that he's referring to being born again, the second birth, which we will talk about on another day. And then the next verse for me is very special. The Word, which is Yeshua, became flesh and dwelt amongst us, and we've seen his glory. Glory as only the Son of the Father, full of grace and truth. God is spirit, so you can't see spirit. We can't understand spirit. If mankind can understand God, then he ain't God. This word that generated creation, God is spirit, but Jesus, Yeshua, is his face, is the panaf, they call it in Hebrew, and he, Vayera, he appeared. Yeshua appeared. John is not saying, Jesus appeared. He says the word, connecting Yeshua in his role in the Trinity, in the triune unity with the Father and with the Spirit, in this dimension that I tell you mankind cannot grasp. Our minds cannot wrap around it. It's far too large. It's far too big. It's far too complex for the human mind. And this is why it requires faith. It is on the spiritual dimension. It is not 3D. It is far beyond. It's a dimension far beyond. And let me tell you this. If people look into space, deep space, and they think the creation is linear, show me something that's linear in creation. All right, and then he explains what John said when the people came and asked him, "Who are you?" No one has ever seen God, the only God who is on the Father's side. He has made him known. You don't know God unless you go through Jesus. This is basically what he's saying. Right, then we get to verse 19, the testimony of John the Baptist. And this is the testimony of John when the Jews sent priests and the Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" John confessed. He confessed and did not deny, but confessed, "I'm not the Messiah." And then they asked him, "Are you Elijah?" And he said, "I'm not." "Are you the prophet?" And he said, "No." Now, the Jewish believers immediately understood what's happening here. First, since Moses taught the Israelites that there shall come a prophet after him, in like what he was, the leader to take them into the promised land. And then the Jews also wait on Elijah to come. So they think this old biblical prophet of 3,500 years ago would reappear. But later we know that Jesus would have explained to his disciples that John came in the spirit of Elijah. And this is the big, simple mistake people make. All right, and then thirdly, the Moshiach. Now, the Jews are waiting on this Moshiach. Now, in their understanding, the Moshiach is a leader that turns his people, like a Moses, that turns his people to God, that frees them from the enemy, that delivers them. This is why the Jews, when Jesus entered the city, Jerusalem, on that last Passover, said, "Hoshiana, Hoshiana." He is the deliverer. So they see a Messiah as a deliverer. And this is why in Jewish history we find that they identified people and said, "This guy is Moshiach." But it's a small letter Moshiach, Messiah. It's a small letter Messiah. It's a Messiah figure. So many Christians make this mistake then, saying, "Oh, the Jews thought this rabbi, he's the Moshiach. How stupid can they be? He's dead and gone." No, they saw him as a messianic leader of the people, turning them back to God. All right. So John the Baptist then said, "I am the voice of one crying out in the wilderness, make straight the way of God," as the prophet Isaiah has said. Now you see again and again and again, you'll find that all scriptures refer to prophecy being fulfilled. And I'm very passionate about prophecy. And as history has proven prophecy being fulfilled to the letter, I firmly believe we will also in future see outstanding prophecy being fulfilled. And it's a topic for another day, but there are multi-levels of prophecy. Then they asked him, "Why are you baptizing if you are neither the Christ, Mashiach, or Elijah, nor the prophet?" And John answered them, "I baptize with water, but among you stands one you do not know, even he who comes after me, the strap of whose sandal I'm not worthy to untie." These things took place in Bethany, across the Jordan, where John was baptizing. What they were asking him is, "Where did you find the authority? Where did you get the idea to do this?" The mikveh bath is part of the purification rules, to purify them before they go to the temple, before they go into the presence of God, because God is holy. And this is why the Bible says, "Be holy, for I am holy."